He don't like me, he likes my wife, so.
Okay, here we go. Welcome to Warren Bull Blesh, who we all lovingly refer to as Bull. And so here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to stand back here, read the questions. You answer them. When we get through with the questions, if there's enough time, you can take questions from the audience. And Tom Hunts is our timekeeper.
Okay.
So just go with it and enjoy yourself.
Can we do a little summary at the end or not?
Is it behind him? Oh, there it is.
Can we do a little summary point at the end or not?
Can we do what?
A little summary point at the end or not?
Yes, absolutely. Whatever you want
We
to
need a
do.
5-minute call, y'all do a, with the lights or what?
Hey Warren,
Yes,
we'll give
sir.
you a 5-minute notice at the end, so you kind of.
Okay, all right. Can you hear this? I'm not really used to microphones.
Yes.
And Nick, we're not talking about the back gate tonight. Are you leaving because of that? Okay, how are you?
Are you getting enough volume for you?
I'm getting enough volume, I think so.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can y'all hear him?
Okay, here we go.
Okay. I'm ready.
For anyone that has volunteered or been elected to a leadership role and represent others, one can easily underestimate the time it will take to do the job. A, are you aware this may stress your marriage to its limits?
Well, I've been in stressful positions my whole life, and yes, I'm aware it may stress my marriage. My wife and I have a good marriage. We also have a counselor. We also believe in Jesus Christ. So you put it all together, we're not going to worry about it.
Okay. Describe your estimate of the time it will take. How many meetings per week?
Thinking 2 meetings a week, no more than 10 hours. And I don't think it should be any longer than that, because I think you should hold the general manager and the director of operations accountable. If they can't do the job, then they need to be replaced, because it doesn't need to be this hard. We need to make 2023 a year of change, going forward, peace and harmony, and come out with a whole new attitude.
Okay.
Sorry, I got fired up.
No, I like it. Now that you've described how you think it will go, why do you want to be a board member?
Well, specifically, I was not going to do this until being on the lake committee since March of last year, and I got that experience by being on the Texas Parks and Wildlife Private Lands Committee, lots of training, know the people at the top. I was able to call Craig Bonds at Parks and Wildlife and get us going in the right direction right away. And so that kind of led to another thing is I've always been involved in service, and this lake committee is kind of led towards, I'd like to continue that because the dam issue is coming up. I want to be there firsthand. I don't always trust the information I am given by admin, and it's huge to Holly Lake. If you add up all the property values estimated on Greenbrier, it's over $45 million. Okay, we can't lose a lake, can't lose a dam, okay, or we don't have a community. And NRCS and some of those resources, they won't make a lot of comments publicly on that lake anymore, but I can make a few phone calls.
Awesome. What do you think the board relationship should be with the executive staff? When the board makes a decision, it appears the executive staff has more say than the membership.
Well, executive staff reports to the board, and should be a clear line of distinction. I would like to see an organizational chart of everybody. I'd like to see the reviews done by the past boards on the executive staff and reviews of all the managers. Therefore, I want to make sure we're following labor laws, wage and hour laws, and we're not opening ourselves up to a big claim for back wages.
Are you familiar with the Myers-Briggs personality assessment?
I'm an ENFP. I've been through that training. I love it because if you give that training to everybody in the office and you put their letters in front of their desk, you can start learning their personalities. The important part of that is if you're a board chairman and you're an E, you need to shut up and let the introvert talk. The introvert has just as much knowledge, maybe more, maybe even smarter than you, but if you don't give them a chance, you'll never hear them.
So for those of us who are not familiar with Myers-Briggs, can you please describe what ENFT is?
That's an extrovert that relies a lot on feelings and makes decisions based on a lot of gut feelings and some facts.
Okay, next. if you are elected, could you assume the job of the treasurer?
I could, I'd have to work with the finance committee. I mean, I'm familiar with balance sheets and profit loss and things like that. Probably have to see more details. I want to see it by department, I want to see it by month, I want to see it by line. You know, my training from corporations is you got a budget in Excel by month, you filled it in based on your last year's January by month. You didn't straight line your electricity, you put it in there the way it fell because of the temperature. And then when you have, at the end of the month, you write a variance report to management saying we missed or we hit, okay? And then you have a corrective action plan on what you're gonna do if you're over. And that's the way I was trained in corporate budgeting, and I think we should let if we're gonna pay people to be maintenance heads, security heads and all that, they should be responsible for their own budget, and if they can't do it, then they can't complete the job.
Would you support and enforce more transparency with security and getting information out to the members in a timely manner, with the idea that it's better to get the information out there before the Facebook and Nextdoor, or they're published in the local paper by law enforcement and the rumor mill starts up with non-factual information?
I don't know if we can beat Facebook to the punch, but maybe Holly Lake could have a better Facebook site where they do commonly post things like that are approved by admin. You know, people out here, some use Facebook, some use Nextdoor, some use email, some don't use anything. You know, I do have some ideas at the end I'll share with you on communication. I do support that.
Okay.
As long as it's legal and not violating anybody's rights.
Okay. Do you understand that Property Code 209 provides one vote per member? Wife and husbands are both members if both names are on the deed. And are you willing to change elections/votes on issues to adhere to the law?
Well, 209-0059 says a provision in a dedicated instrument that would disqualify a property owner from voting in an election is now void. That came out September 1 of 2022 after the letter that's written by the Myers attorney firm here in April. I think that's at the point of contention. So I did not feel the stress from either side of this decision. I've hired my own attorney instead of going to Galveston and let them give me a ruling so I can follow the law based on what they tell me. I hired a residential HOA attorney, and I'm waiting for her opinion. She asked for the articles of incorporation, the bylaws, and the appellate suit that was filed in Tyler. Okay.
Nice.
It's just costing some money, but it's going to give me some sleep insurance.
Are you ready?
Not big on theorizing, okay?
In the event that the board is sued by the members, do you believe that you should have to use your personal funds to defend yourself, not membership funds?
Actually, there's an indemnification clause in the bylaws. It's common in all not-for-profits that you will not have your own funds exposed. Now, maybe you got to write a check and they got to write it back the same day to keep you in money, but nobody would take the job. You also have some protection under the not-for-profit laws up to $250,000 for serving on a not-for-profit board. We also have D&O insurance, which covers everything but a criminal act. Criminal acts are not covered. I don't think you should reimburse me if I break the law.
Given that Holly Lake Ranch's annual budget is larger than the budget for the city of Gilmer, do you agree that the amenities, the buildings, the grounds, and the equipment should be kept in pristine condition?
You know, we're required by the Silverleaf contract to keep it in, they got some word in there, pretty darn good condition. How about that? How about that word? Which is subject to, obviously, some interpretation. But yes, we need to keep our facilities up. I will go on and digress a little bit that I believe we could use skilled labor and subcontractors to paint, do some things like that, save some direct labor. Every time we use direct labor from our own people, we're paying about $10,000 a year for health insurance. We can sub that out to Best Painting. They can come, do it, paint it. If they don't do a good job, we won't hire them again. Also, they have their own insurance. We won't be liable for a thing.
Are you willing to enact rules and regulations for contractors, holding them responsible for keeping property and areas around the property under construction clean, i.e. keep trash and debris picked up off of streets and areas beside streets?
I didn't know that was an issue. Contractors not picking up their mess.
I guess. I know one, but he just picks up his mess.
I don't know why we need a rule, but after meeting with somebody today, I agree with them, is we should have an approved contractors list at Holly Lake Ranch. They should have their insurance on file. We should be named as additional insured. They can get a little sticker on their window or whatever, but once they're approved, then we'll have a little more control on them. They should also have a driver's license.
Right?
Hey, had a call from the front gate, they won't let me in, I don't have a driver's license.
Wow.
And one more.
All that's easily handled through a monitored certificate of insurance program. It's common for every contractor, subcontractor, and building that you even rent.
I'm going to list areas of expertise. You say yes or no if you have experience in these. Are you ready?
Yes.
Finance and accounting,
Yes,
communications and public relations,
a lot.
marketing and branding,
Lifetime.
law enforcement,
Let me back up, look at my sign, the bull. We'll have a Jeopardy question on that.
okay. How about law enforcement?
I have a lot of experience in law enforcement doing the insurance for City of Louisville, and some of these people have law enforcement teams. I've seen the claim side where they've detained somebody wrongfully, or they've bent a finger back too far and hurt them. And so my law enforcement side comes more from the exposure of having a armed guard or any kind of guard here at the fort, and that does bring some meat to the table.
Processes and controls,
I would think so.
standards and measurement,
Are you talking about employees there? Well, I would say that I would love to look at our HR manual, include possibly having that reviewed by a consulting firm to make sure we're following all wage and hour laws, to make sure we're doing reviews properly, to make sure, number one, that we have a progressive discipline program. If we're going to terminate somebody, you're supposed to give an oral warning, a written warning, and then termination. If you don't do that, you're totally liable for probably about 85% of their salary when they sue you. Also, you got to be careful with this back wages stuff. There's back wages claims going all over where you don't pay people time and a half, and they're fine until you let them go, and they bring it all up. They go to the labor board and they win.
Okay, wait just a minute on the next one. Management accountability,
Absolutely, management should be doing all this, and the board should probably have a pretty easy lifestyle. I think this is way too complicated, and I had insured an HOA that was about this size outside of Del Rio for 25 years. Board met twice a month. They had 3,000 members, 2,500 acres, gun range, golf course, natural swimming pool. Never had these kind of issues.
how about lake maintenance?
Second nature.
Right.
I had a lake at our little ranch we had. We had a biologist that came in, he sprayed the weeds. We took fish samples. All that was just right up my alley when the lake algae came up. Still have plenty of contacts at Parks and Wildlife. Tomorrow we're getting a private tour of the Athens Fish Hatchery. Meet some people down there. You never know what you learn. Knowledge is powerful, and everything you learn, you eventually find out if you're out and helping people, or it's going to become a couple somewhere.
How about multi-building asset management?
I don't think I've done that.
And
If I'm hearing you right, I haven't built anything other than a barn.
how about negotiation experience?
Quite a bit.
Okay.
I've negotiated insurance contracts for 35 years.
And legal experience?
I'm not an attorney. I've never been sued, so I read all their clauses when they have clients. My clients have asked them to do things. I've watched a lot of lawsuits go from beginning to end and advise clients on their coverage and the next steps. But that's the main side of that I've come from.
Okay, where are we with time? Oh, good. Not by name, but rather just describe the individual you turn to for mentorship and why.
If I turn to my wife, she's professional, came through, paid her own way through college. Her dad said she'd never be nothing. She's a self-made woman. She served in HR for Watson Wyatt out of Dallas, a huge consulting firm for many, many years before we went to the Hill Country. She there served as chief appraiser, and so she dealt with ARB and everybody upset over their property value. She went on to be vice president of the bank. I value her opinion more than anybody, and she's always kept me on the straight road.
Would you support and enforce more transparency with security and getting information out to the members? I did this already.
You already did that already.
I'm so sorry.
Forgot my first answer.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
Put 10 seconds back on.
I think I know. Put that 10 seconds back. I'm so sorry, Bull.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Bull. I got my pages out of order. Okay. After a hard-fought negotiations on an STR policy was adopted for HLR. This includes property owner responsibility for all actions of their guests and a cap on the maximum number of STRs allowed. If elected, will you support these policies or seek to amend any part of them? Please share your views on this subject.
Well, I will seek to enforce the policies. The part that I would be concerned about is the STRs that don't have an aerobic air sewer system need to be inspected, so we're not putting fluid into the lakes. We planted a church one time, and I was sitting there with the inspector. He said, "How many people are coming to this church?" I said, 250. He said, "Your septic has to be if all 250 people flush at the same time." Oh, so our budget tripled. But if you have a house and you turn it into an STR, and your septic's made for 3 bedrooms with approximately 2 people each, and you put 3 people in there, and then you have a family reunion with 20 people, and you have 25 people flushing, the old systems probably can't handle it.
Are you willing to lead the board in regard to the revitalization of Section 3, asking the Wood County to condemn those properties that have been abandoned so that we can foreclose and clean them up and resell them?
Very complicated subject. I spent the morning yesterday with Tracy at the Wood County Appraisal District. You know, his concept is when we foreclose and when they foreclose, nobody wants the lots. His idea is to combine more of those lots into some beautiful lots. Might require a change to the deed restrictions that make something that people want to buy. It's going to take a joint effort between the Hawkins School District, Wood County, and Holly Lake Ranch to turn Section 3 around. There is a work group that's already been assigned to work on that. I don't know where they are because I'm not privy to that information, but what I'm giving you is the stuff I've heard it out from the appraisal district.
It is my understanding that when Section 3 or any other section, residents do not pay their dues over a period of time, that we shut off their access to the amenities and to their trash pickup. Is that correct? And do you support that?
Tough question.
I think this question is related to Section 3 because there are people living in Section 3 paying their dues, but they are surrounded by people whose trash is everywhere because they're not paying their dues.
I really don't have a good answer. I don't think adding more trash to Section 3 is helpful. So if we got to hide a bin that everybody can go to down the side street and empty it at low cost versus having individual pickup, then that might be a way to go. Those container construction bins are not that expensive 3 or 4 times a month. We're not going to get Section 3 turned around without picking up something.
Do you see any conflict of interest in the board and current administration? How do you feel about Jeff's dual compensation as GM and golf pro?
Absolute conflict of interest to do your own budget because you can load the golf course with more money than is needed and skimp it from facilities and buildings and safety. I would recommend maybe another place to have somebody that's a consultant look at that, see if we're in line or out of line. I don't know, but there are experts. My nephew was with Dallas National for 20 years. He could tell me in 5 minutes.
Awesome. Okay, you have 15 minutes to take questions.
Okay. And take it easy.
Hey,
on me.
Warren.
Take it easy on me. Sorry,
I have a
it's
list
you're
of
not gonna see-
questions, however, I'm gonna limit it to two.
Okay.
So, what do you think the board relationship should be with the executive staff? When the board makes a decision, it appears the executive staff has more say than the membership. Do you understand what I'm saying? Then I'm asking,
Say it one more time, just, you got three parties there, the board.
what do you think the board relationship should be with the executive staff? When the board makes a decision, it appears the executive staff, i.e. you, makes a decision, it appears has more say than the membership.
Well, executive staff needs to support the board, and the board needs to support the members. That makes sense?
Yep.
We're a member-driven association. Executive staff works for the board. We need to support the members.
Yeah, it
It's not.
for me, it just doesn't seem like that's what we're seeing right now.
Right, yeah, I agree.
Okay. And let me get you one more here. This will be one of those, a hard one here. What criteria would you use for an allocation of board restricted funds?
I would at least do a poll of the employees through SurveyMonkey or through our new system to agree, neutral, or disagree, just to see, get the flavor. You know, I think feedback, I don't know much about feedback and info, but whoever reads all that stuff, it's never compiled where you really know what's going on. But I think certainly testing the waters is a good idea, and then of course we're limited to $250,000 anyway. But you know, we're not reaching out. I think quick tests like polls are a lot better than narratives where people get all upset.
Yeah, a lot of people that they want to know what's out there as far as yeah, I'll never mind.
Call me later.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
You think we ought to be limited to 30 STRs?
Yes, I do.
Can't hear the question.
Limited to
30 SDRs.
And he said yes. Oh, here we go. Here.
You had mentioned that you had a lot to say on communications, and then you just mentioned SurveyMonkey. Somebody else mentioned earlier that about 20% of our population is not electronic. How would you solve that problem as far as communication is concerned?
Well, I got three issues I was saving for the end, but let me just start now with, first off, back to what I said. I would like to recast 2023 as a line in the sand where we become more member-friendly, and I would start with the board meetings, having a meet and greet 30 to 45 minutes before they start. We're not the Supreme Court. We don't need to sit back at the table with our arms crossed. That's poor body language. Let's get out, have a cup of coffee, buy some donuts. I don't care. I'll buy them. Visit with people. If you have a question for Adam, walk up and get it done now. If you have a question for security, get it done now. All those questions that are built up to the end could all, 90% of them, be answered long before. So that's one communication method. The other thing that I've talked to Ed about it once is I was on the Lower Colorado River Authority, which is the same as the Sabine River Authority. I was called an ambassador, and they picked outstanding citizens in each county. We were brought to the headquarters and educated. They would tell us about how copper gets stolen and what to look for while we're riding around. It's kind of a security issue. They would tell us what happens in a flood and how they manage the gates. It was always a very entertaining topic. They fed us a sandwich. 30 of us went home. We're sitting around drinking coffee or at someone's house and the topic comes up. We were well versed on things at LCRA, and we were very positive. And so my idea is to have an ambassador for each section. Let those ambassadors come in, train them, give them lunch, give them a good warm fuzzy feeling, send them back in the community. And that would be the last thing to go. The last thing I think is we do this at Summit Heights is every Thursday, Edward and Jake send out a video. If you don't want to listen to it, fine. But everybody has a phone, and they do a 10-minute video or a 5-minute video. It can be Jeff on the golf course. It can be the security. It can be the the president of the association with somebody, but a weekly update. Here we are, we're painting this. Here we are, we got bugs on the green at number 8. Here we are, we're at the lake, we're putting out bacteria with Milbrand, all those kind of things. But if you do a weekly broadcast, see, the problem is, I grew up with the Dallas Morning News and 3 TV stations, okay? Never had to ask a question. And certainly the letters to the editor were nothing like you see around here. But we're out here, we don't have a, Wood County Monitor doesn't cover us. Hawkins, Big Sandy's about out of business at the moment. And so that may be the word we're missing, is we don't have the communication I had growing up. And so you're relying a lot of times, if you look at Facebook, on false facts. This would come straight from Jeff once a week, or Adam, or the board chair, or one of the work groups. Even a Section 3 work group could give an update on a Thursday. So that's one thing I would throw in there, those 3 things.
Can I ask the same question again? Regarding this land bill that's going to be voted on 8/8, would you agree that it's a good idea to have an open board meeting where we can ask questions?
I would have sent out with the note that we're going to have a town hall on Tuesday and stopped all that before it ever happened.
Thank you.
That's stupid, okay?
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Sorry. Hope nobody hears this. Yes.
Well, they need to hear it.
What's your opinion of 209 and all the back and forth with?
Well, I mentioned that. I got I've read it. I've read, our stuff. I've read the letter here by Mr. Myers. He says we're a director-driven organization, right here on page 2. But then they have this new law that came in effect September 1st, which is more pro-member, and I think you're going to see more pro-member laws by all the condo associations that are out there. And so that's why I am waiting for my own legal opinion, so I can do the right thing. Yeah.
I have a question. A lot of people, you hear it all the time, that nobody shows up for the board meeting. And so that's why they can do.
Here, yeah, you need it.
He's bringing donuts.
Yeah, bring donuts.
Oh, well, a lot of people complain that nobody ever shows up for the board meeting, so therefore the board does what they want to do. Maybe we need to change the day and the time. When I first moved here, we didn't have board meetings on Tuesday, and there was a lot more people coming. So what would your thoughts be on maybe finding out what would be a better day for the members? Working on a Tuesday, kids' dinner, it's hard to go. Maybe a different day.
Understand. There is people that would like a Saturday board meeting, whether it be Saturday morning at 10 a.m. or whatever. We do have a lot of weekend residents that may come. I think people don't come because they're not fun. And if we start changing the climate in the room and know that you can come and get some questions answered beforehand, if either one of the Republican or Democratic parties has a meeting, the candidate's there early answering questions, okay? And then he does his stump speech, or she, but you get rid of a lot of that stuff if you can talk to them, and they'll talk to you, You just can't catch them during the week.
Warren,
Yes.
we got one right here. I have a
Okay.
question.
Oh.
Hey, after that, we got one here as well.
Okay, take it easy on me.
She's really nice.
Have any water.
Could you tell me who exactly is on the executive board? I'm ignorant on
I guess it'd be Mr. Wilkins, Mr. Dawsey. Mr. Wilkins, Mr. Dawsey, Mr. Jackson, Stacy Fink, and Linda Gasaway.
That's the
That's
whole
the
board.
board.
That's the board.
She's talking about, not the executive committee, but the executive. And
Oh, Jeff and Adam, I guess are the only two. We have a general manager and a director of operations. Security reports to the director of operations. I don't know who maintenance reports to.
that. Thank you.
I don't. You? Okay.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm here for concerns about the security
Mhm.
guard situation,
Right.
and about the rates, the HOA fees.
Sure.
I don't know if I'm in the right group here. I don't know the logistics of anything or how it works, but I'm just a person with concerns. I'm just wondering if the HOA fees, if it's possible for the rate to get locked for certain age groups and certain retirees, kind of like
I think you go back to, first off, if we went up 10% a year for the next 5 years, it'd be at $250 plus trash. And largely, I think, I call this a middle-class community. Yes, we have some really nice homes. We have some very wealthy people. We have some middle-class people. We have some people that are struggling. And so if you're board-driven, no big deal. If you're member-driven, you got to take all those economic classes. You know, and many of us here, we consider this, that our next stop may be living next to the kids in assisted living or in the funeral home. We got to keep the dues affordable, and that starts with expense management first before you ever go up.
Yes.
And I know inflation's coming, but we got 660,000 laying around that came in from somewhere. So I would like to see a freeze this year.
Okay, my next question.
Empathetic freeze, symbolic.
I am very grateful for our ambulance
Mhm.
and for our, all of our things.
Fire
Okay,
department,
our
yeah.
fire department, yes. How far of a reach is it for just to have a small police department so they can have a little more authority over really violent, bad situations?
I don't believe they have any authority over private property or private roads except a criminal action. And to better educate everybody that has that concern, then
Yeah,
I would recommend that the Wood County Sheriff and our head of security have a town hall.
That's
It's more of an explanation than it is.
There was
See, I
an
can,
incident.
if I see, I'll use Ed because I know him. If I see Ed beating up on a woman,
Yeah.
me as a resident, I can go pull him off, okay? I got some good Samaritan rules and laws that protect me. If a licensed guard goes and does that, then there can be some claims for bodily injury.
So you're saying Holly Lake is private property, which I knew that,
Right.
but,
They can't give a ticket on our roads or anything.
okay, we couldn't elect police officers or,
We
so
couldn't start
any,
a police department, a rural police department that serves Holly Lake Ranch.
I don't think so.
Not in freeze on dues.
okay, I didn't know, I just
Yeah, I
wanted to
don't think
ask,
so.
okay.
Yes.
Warren, the question was asked earlier if you had multi-building asset management experience, and your answer was no.
I said I built a barn.
You built a barn, right? Yeah. But as a commercial insurance agent, were you not involved in insuring multiple buildings for properties and evaluation, and worked with adjusters and
I insured Parkland
actuarials?
I insured Parkland Hospital. I insured HOAs with $10 million of property. When I go out on a pre-application, I would walk through those buildings. I would look to see their condition because I had to answer all those questions. Also, I did a lot of restaurants like we have here. I did Del Frisco's and Three Forks and those kind of restaurants. You go in those buildings now, I'd like to see her vent hood, see if it's inspected. I'd like to see if her fryer has a cover over it. I'd like to see the emergency exits in case there's a fire we need to get out. Those are things that I'm familiar with. Yes.
What is your opinion on a new gate access off 49 into like 8 and 9 area?
Okay, 8 and 9.
Yeah, that area back.
I think for starters, we need to have emergency exit signs where people know where to turn, because I would say if there's any kind of nervous catastrophe in here, most people will never find even the exits we got. And so I would invest the money right now in signage to get us out of here. And I would consider fire drills every now and then, just like we did in school, where you get in your car and we can all meet at Brookshire's and have a Coke.
Well, I mean, especially for like ambulances,
Right.
firemen.
Ambulance is all I have RFID and they can come in the front gate.
Right, but I'm saying
it
to
might be
have a
quicker.
gate access in the back.
Yeah, I think at one point they are looking at where they can hit the switch and open those gates from up at the guard shack, but they don't have connectivity right now, is what I
Oh, I
understand.
thought all the gates were like padlocked.
Yeah, but they're trying to have an electronic method. They don't have any way to connect like with Wi-Fi right now.
Yeah, as somebody who has a house full of senior citizens and has had the ambulance come several times, even the ambulance drivers are like, why? Why is this set up like this? Because it would have saved you so much travel time.
I would expect, maybe not in my lifetime, but pretty quick, you will see that the HOAs will get more legislative mandates for safety exits. and for reserve funds. The collapse of the condo in Florida is leading to a huge movement already here in Texas that you'll have so much money in the bank in the event you have a catastrophe, you'll be able to pay for it. Expect that next legislative session. It may not pass, but we'll be governed a little bit like the banks on how much money we got.
That's time. Save your question, we got Stacy. What?
It's fine.
Okay, it's done. Okay, well,
Okay, well, I'm fixing to wrap this up. I was going to say, I'm going to read this so I get it right. Terry, you'll like this. As a board member, we have fiduciary duties because we have your money. And I'll tell you, one of the hardest jobs is working on a church finance team when the preacher wants a raise and the widow on the front row is writing a check for $20. That'll strangle you. But our duty as a fiduciary and a board member is a duty of care, a duty to the level of competence in business that's expected. Yeah, we have a duty of care. Okay, we got to take care of your money. If we don't, we're not being a good fiduciary. We have a duty of loyalty. We have to be loyal to you, not to us. If there's a conflict of interest, we should not vote for it. We should get out of it and abstain. And we have a duty of obedience and consistency. So there's lots of pressure if you look at what is a duty. Just Google it anytime and it'll all come up. We got your money. We're supposed to take care of it every way possible.